Well, hello and welcome to Painless Universal, a conversation with myself and Welsh. Today I'll be talking to Ravi. Ravi is a specialist on mental health. He's the founder of Rcube Health, which is a company that helps people who are dealing with mental health struggles. Ravi is an Agile product leader and an ex-management consultant with significant corporate experience in telecommunication and in the financial services. He's passionate about social enterprises, personal development, and mostly mental health. Ravi is a computer science engineer with an MS from University of Birmingham and an MBA from Sayed Business School and University of Oxford. I'm absolutely passionate to talk to him because I am truly a big fan of mental health, especially now with everything going on in the world, with the pandemic, with social struggle, economic downturn. People are struggling and their mental health is also being affected by these struggles. I'll be talking to him about how his company is utilizing the tool to help people, especially women, dealing with these challenges. Meet Ravi. Well, hello everyone, and welcome again to Painless Universal, a conversation with myself and Welsh. I have Ravi here with myself. As you know, Ravi is a mental health specialist, and his company has designed a tool that helps people who are going through mental health struggle. Ravi, thank you so much for joining me. I've previously done an introduction about yourself and all your experience, which is quite fascinating because, when I look at your experience and what you do now I could see the linkage on why you started this company. Could you just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, happy to. And thanks very much for inviting me onto your channel. I've seen a bit of your work, and what you do is truly inspirational.
Thank you.
Um, but this podcast or this channel is about me. For now, for today, so I'm just going to get with my introduction. So my journey with mental health started around 8 years ago, when I was in Germany. I was a consultant, and suddenly I was doing well professionally, but suddenly I could not find a connect between what I was doing and my purpose in life. So that was the beginning of my journey. And 3 years after that, I spent 3 years after that, looking for purpose in different countries of the world, UK, India, where I'm from, and Germany. And finally, in 2017, I decided to start moving into mental health, creating solutions for people, for millions of people worldwide who are suffering from stress, anxiety, and other illnesses.
Oh, wow. Ravi, one thing that fascinates me, mental health is invisible illness, and not so many people are courageous enough to talk about it. We all know mental health, we've all heard about it, but how do one truly understand when they have a mental health issue that needs to be reviewed?
Absolutely great question. And the first step, as you mentioned, is awareness.
Okay.
And for that awareness to come in, you have to understand the root causes of poor mental health, such as stress and anxiety. So, usually, what the root cause is an imbalance. Humans have resources, like inner resources, physical resources, material resources, and
Mm,
humans also have demands, what they have to do. And usually, when there's an imbalance between their resources and their demands,
mm,
then a mental health issue starts coming into existence. And it's really important to recognize this imbalance. So, what is that imbalance? Just an example of imbalance: money is considered as one of the root cause of stress in the United States, the most important one. And a money imbalance can be caused because your resources, your money resources, is just not enough to fulfill your demands, right? The same thing could be applied to work, like what you're doing at work, your skill set, your expertise, or your tasks just do not fulfill the expectations of, for example, your employer, right? And then it boils down to an imbalance. So I think the first step is to recognize or being made aware of this imbalance and what is it for you.
wow. That is so true because it's something I love the example you just used about the money bet because so many people, especially with the pandemic, losing their jobs and you always already have a threshold of what you have to do monthly or whatever yearly. And when this whole imbalance comes in, it really, it really hurts people and that could bring on its own stress. So when you notice you're going through that kind of stress, what are the key tips that you always say to someone, you know, before we even get to what your company does, but in just as a person, what are your key tips for helping people to get through mental health issues?
So the first step is, as we discussed, recognizing that imbalance. And the second step is obviously correcting or taking remedial steps towards that imbalance. But as you know, mental health is really broad. And I also want to put out a disclaimer that this is not medical advice. These are purely my personal comments. And if you have a serious mental health issue, then it's best to ask a professional such as your GP or a therapist. Um, so having said that, the things you can do to manage your mental health, especially stress and anxiety, could be done through different ways. What I prefer is the 7 pillars of mental health. This is what I really learned 3 years ago at Zinc, which is a mission builder in London, one of the leading impact mission builder in London. And the 7 steps are sleep, exercise, meaningful social contact, purpose, and sorry, so we got 4: nutrition,
Wow.
nourishing social contact, stress and entertainment, and purpose. So these 7 pillars are really important to understand. And when I said there was a previous imbalance, usually the imbalance could be in one of these 7 pillars, right? But you don't have to look at all these 7 pillars.
Mm.
For example, I can tell you my example, right? I run a startup. I'm stressed and anxious probably every day about the uncertainty, what's going to my startup and how we're going to move forward with the business.
Yeah.
I focus on sleep. I focus on meaningful social contact. Like I chat to my friends, I chat to my parents, and ask, and just a single chat, just asking how they're doing, right? It could be just 5 minutes a day, but I invest time in my resources and in my pillars, which I think are best for me, so that I could manage my mental health.
Oh wow, yeah, that's true because that helps me as well. It's just to take myself off negative news, to now rest and exercise as well because that takes really takes my mind off things. How did you go on to start your company, Rcube Health, and what was the mission for that company?
So, as I mentioned, 3 years ago, I was at Zinc VC, and they were building around 20 mental health companies, especially to solve the emotion and well-being issues of women and girls worldwide. So that which is a massive problem, especially in the western part of the world.
Mm.
And I was at Zinc. I started help or worked in early stage startups. 2 of them, one was in perinatal mental health, which is the whole area of pregnancy, what happens after pregnancy, and all the issues where women are troubled in this phase of their life. And the other second startup was workplace well-being. So looking at burnout, looking at work-life imbalance, etc. And since these 2 startups, I couldn't move forward with these 2 startups. And then I joined this company called Rcube Health,
Yes. Mhm.
which was originally founded by my co-founder, Dr. Peter Grunewald, where he had a concept and a vision. And then I joined, and then we started executing this vision together. Yeah, that's where it started. The mission at Rcube Health is to provide evidence-based access to mental health worldwide, all over the world.
Oh. How does that work? Evidence-based, because like I said, mental health is an invisible illness which can, sometimes I think a lot of people struggle with how do we come out and say we have a mental health issue. So how does that work? The evidence-based um, on understanding mental health.
Good question, and actually great question. This is one of the main things which people are facing, right? Because as you know, in the UK, when someone has a mental health issue, the usual go-to option is the NHS. However, we all know very well the waiting lists
Yeah.
for the NHS service, which are not so great.
Mm.
And so, what people do when they're waiting, they go to Dr. Google, right, and try to search for mental health apps. However, in spite of there being many mental health apps, very few are backed by rigorous evidence. And that is where we come in, because we are providing something for the masses, but which is still rooted in evidence through the work of our medical team. We've got a medical team led by my co-founder, Dr. Preeta Grunewald, who's a worldwide renowned stress and management and stress management and resilience building. And yeah, that's what we do.
Oh wow, that's really helpful, because I think that data is so important, because then you understand, who in the population is going through it and how can they immediately get help, and rather than just us always relying on Dr. Google. One of the things I also I understand about the company is reduces stress, anxiety, and it builds resilience. Resilience is something I'm very keen on understanding. When you say build resilience, what do you mean by building resilience?
Okay, I'm still learning
Yes.
resilience, because really the work of resilience has been done since the past 50 years, and previously for the past thousands of years, from philosophers and psychologists worldwide. So it's really difficult to tell about resilience in a nutshell, but I would just go back to what I mentioned as my example of resources.
Mm.
So we all have physical and mental and societal resources
Yes, we do.
which will add energy. And this is what I call a concept of resilience, is your ability to bounce back under difficult situations,
Yeah.
right? We all have difficult situations, especially during COVID times. And as humans, we are used to difficult situations, whatever you're doing, whatever position in your life may be, right? It could be it could be a trivial thing like an argument, or a world changing thing like a pandemic.
Mm.
Difficult situations are everywhere. But what differentiates us humans is how we deal with those things. And this is resilience.
That's true. And our final question is about the lockdown. People, so many people are in lockdown and not showing how to, how to deal with the thing. Their mental health is struggling. What would be your key advice to people who are going through a difficult time right now?
Use our free app? No, I'm joking.
But that's good. Why not? Why not? Absolutely. I would definitely say people, because I've looked at your app and it really does. It's really a guided tool for people, anyone who is going through any kind of struggle, anxiety, stress. It's a very, very helpful tool.
Yeah, but yes, of course. So once you use the app, you can get some help. But generally, during the COVID, or especially during the second lockdown, it is important to build your resilience. And we could do it through many of the techniques, but really, these techniques are individual, and you should see what works for you, right? So one of the things what we have in our app are breathing exercises, because these breathing exercises build the resilience inside the body, and they're very simple to use, easy to practice, and you don't need any guided a well-being practitioner or anything like that. So you can use your breathing exercises, or you can use one of the relaxation exercises to relax and to calm down, so that you can get a sleep. You can wake refreshed in the morning and go about your work.
All right.
The other thing Yeah.
Well, that-
So we've got other features like gratitude journaling, cognitive behavioral therapy exercises. But what I would stress, if there were two things which I would take during these times, it is definitely getting good sleep,
Mm,
at least 6 to 8 hours sleep during this pandemic. It's very important. And the second thing is social connectedness,
mm,
even if it's through virtually or physically, which is kind of difficult under lockdown. But really reach out to your friends, reach out to your parents, reach out to anybody um, whom you think can have a chat with you,
mm.
because this really drives away the blues of loneliness. And loneliness, as you probably know, is one of the trigger for many mental health issues. So these are the two things which are really at the top of my mind.
I love that. The loneliness one is true because then a lot of people cannot reach out to, see loved ones. There's a typical culture where you go out in the evening, you meet with your friends, and those things that can't happen anymore. So how do you supplement that? Ravi, I'm really appreciative of this few points you've given me. Thank you so much for your time this morning. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Thanks for your time. Thanks for inviting me, Anna, as well.
Thank you.